Hey everybody, welcome to episode whatever of The Boys, the Girls on Boys. This is season 1, episode something, and we're talking about season 3, episode 7 of the Boys. So that means this is episode 8 for us, season 1, but we're talking about season 3, episode 7 of The Boys. Amazon Prime's hit comic book based show. The episode we're going to be talking about today is Here Comes a Candle to Light You to Bed. My name is Rebecca Watson, and please welcome my brilliant co-host, Kaveh.
Hey everyone! Hey buddy.
Please take your seats. It's too much. It's too much. He doesn't deserve
just
it.
Calm down.
Just calm down.
Setting the bar way too high, people.
Save it for the when like the concert's over and then
the
you
encore.
have to the encore. Save it for the encore. I hate encores.
I do too. It's such a weird little game. It's a weird little game.
Yeah,
right?
Stop playing the psychological chess with me.
Yeah,
just play your greatest hit. When I was 17, I was dating this guy in death metal band.
What?
No, he was in his early 20s, but he was the lead singer of a death metal band in Boston. And he invited me, like, for our first date, we went to see Blue Oyster Cult at the Middle East in Boston, in Cambridge. And he got me, like, the bouncer was like, oh, it's 21 plus. He's like, oh, she's with me, you know. So I felt pretty cool then.
Wait, did he have a British accent?
No,
okay,
different guy.
You almost affected one there.
No, he was second generation Irish. His dad had a big thing about Lucky Charms. Very anti. They couldn't be in the house. They could not.
Okay. For a second, I thought like they were really into Lucky Charms.
No, opposite.
This really gets our culture right.
Opposite. He hated it. So, and he warned me, if you ever come to visit, which I did not get that far, and I'm kind of sad, but don't bring any Lucky Charms because my dad will throw you out on your ass. But
is that something that might have happened? Like you might have come with a box and be like, I brought something to show you how much I appreciate your culture. It's this box of Lucky Charms.
Box of Lucky Charms, all marshmallows, all charms. Like it's the luckiest Lucky Charms you can have. I think it came up because you're just digging us in further. I literally said we can't get off track.
Right before the show started, we were like, let's stay focused this time, and I derailed us immediately. But come on, death metal singer,
I was going
Irish, no Lucky Charms.
So
there's a lot for me to unpack here.
He was a friend of a friend. I was at BU, and we met in the like dining hall where they had these cereal dispensers. And so we met when I was bragging at a table about sneaking in a backpack full of Ziploc bags where I dumped Lucky Charms and then dumped out all the brown ones. And I just had Lucky Charm marshmallows. And so that's like how we met. He was like, oh, funny story. My dad won't allow us to have those in our house. And so he was the lead singer of a death metal band in Boston. Our first date was Blue Oyster Cult at the Middle East. And
Don't Fear the Reaper, right?
I was having a really great time until it was like midnight. And I was like, hey, man, it's like a Thursday. Yeah. I have class tomorrow. I should probably, because like I biked there, from Alston, Brighton. It's like a 30-minute bike ride. Yeah. And he's like, they haven't played Don't Fear the Reaper yet. And I was like, no, we had to stay until like 2 a.m. just because they hadn't played Don't Fear the Reaper yet.
No, that's too long for that song. That's way too long. It's not fair for you to bring up all these things and expect me to not dive into them. I'm really biting my tongue here.
All right, what do you got?
There's just so much to fucking get into with that, but we're not going to.
Why don't you put
one question?
Put a pin in it.
Okay.
For because we have a long, we have now seen, or I have seen, I don't know if you're caught up, but I did watch the finale. And then like we're going to have like an off season.
Yeah.
During which time I'm going to be lonely and we need to still make
content. Oh, we're going to be full of content. There's a lot we can do here. Okay. Let's talk about the episode. We'll put the pin in the Blue Oyster Cult and why a death metal band singer wanted to listen to the Blue Oyster Cult.
Okay, but also quickly, he also constantly like talked about Hanson and how he thought Hanson was the Beatles of our day. And he's like, remember the Beatles had like poppy hits that everybody thought was just bubblegum for girls. That's Hanson right now. They're going to be the Beatles.
Wow.
He was positive.
Pretty shocked this didn't work out with this guy.
The more I reminisce, the more I'm like, I wish I didn't dump him for being a terrible kisser.
But that was the problem?
Oh, it was like,
too much tongue?
Was like a squid on my face.
Like Timothy, the octopus.
It was like Timothy suction to my face. And I, at the time, was a, like, mostly, let's be honest, asexual nerd who just, like, honestly, like, I didn't get it. I didn't care, so I feel kind of bad. We met at the wrong time in our lives.
I'm positive I was probably a lousy kisser for the first.
It was just it was just all saliva.
No, that's a bummer. That's a real bummer. It's hard to teach someone that. You know what I mean? It's hard to. You need to have that one girlfriend who's willing to jump on the grenade and just be like, I am going to teach this fool how to do this.
As an asexual who had like little to no experience kissing anyone, it's not going to be me. I'm not here to tell you how to kiss. Yeah. Maybe that's the way everybody likes it. I don't know.
As a quick aside, have we talked about my thoughts about this whole, like how horrible it would be to actually, if you were to have, say, 40 virgins in heaven? Like, can you imagine anything worse than that? I mean, first of all, by the way, I'm sure that's totally lost in translation. I'm sure that's not exactly what the fucking people are saying, whatever. But like the concept of, I would want nothing less than 40. Give me 39 dirty whores.
Yes.
Maybe one virgin.
And you can really see it just by switching the genders. Like, no woman wants 40 virgins. Heaven. That's 40 like grinding like low level Zelda quests.
Super nobody finding the clitoris. Premature ejaculation 40, every single time.
40 quests where you have to go and find 10 turtle shells and deliver them to a farmer.
Which oddly enough is what I think about when I'm trying not to come.
Weirdly, it's what I think about when I do come. That 10th turtle shell.
Did you get older, kids? Things get weird. It gets harder to get to the right places sexually. Anyways, okay. Here we go. Here comes a candle.
Let's cut all of that out.
Oh, don't you dare.
Just put it. That's for our YouTube.
Oh, I see. Okay.
See, you gotta.
Yeah, I like the way you work. I like the way you think. Okay, so this episode, the latest episode that we're covering.
Yes.
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna say I like this episode. I liked it. It's another episode that I think covers a lot of ground. Yes. A lot of stuff happens. It starts with this interesting scene with Ashley, the Vought CEO. She's on the Cameron Coleman, like that CNN sort of Tuckery Hannity news hour.
Yeah, more Fox News. Yeah.
She's trying to spin what was left at the end of last episode, which is Annie's video revealing the truth about the company. And she's trying to spin it in this really interesting way. They
hit every point where like she's
could
working
this be treason? I think it could be.
I think it could be.
Right.
Is she working with a terrorist? I think she might be.
Is it human trafficking?
Human trafficking.
Mm-hmm. As an aside, the human trafficking story is a very interesting thing. The sex trafficking thing.
Yeah, as an Iranian, I can see why you would be interested. Yeah, because your people are well known for. You're
thinking of the movie Taken, and I think those are Saudis.
No, I'm thinking of Not Without My Daughter.
She wasn't trafficked. She was basically, beaten like a woman's supposed to.
How did she get there? She got trafficked there.
No, she went with her husband.
Are you saying Sissy Spacek or whoever that wasn't trafficked?
It was not Sissy Spacek. It was, oh, fucking shit. Who is it?
See, you don't know. You don't know your facts.
God damn it.
It wasn't Goldie Hawn.
Burt Reynolds was in her with her.
This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I know what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about how
Cannonball Run.
The Persians, Dom DeLuise?
Dom DeLuise. Yes.
Is it Dom?
Holy shit. Hold on a second. I gotta fucking look this
I
up.
would love to see a Not Without My Daughter starring Dom DeLuise as the sissy SpaceX character.
Oh my God. I'm gonna choke. Sally Field. Sally motherfucking Field. Anyways, so this whole thing about the sex trafficking issue is a really interesting one to me.
Yeah.
And like whether or not there's real truth to it, or if it's just this weird right-wing talking point. I have an interesting background when it comes to this, because we actually in our show, The House of Pod, we had on a guest a while back who I think was just a really interesting lady, really a fascinating woman, really strong woman who had been sex trafficked.
Oh.
Her story is very like straightforward sex trafficking, and her and her survival through that. Her story is amazing. It's harrowing. But at the same time, the more you learn about sex trafficking in general, the more you learn it doesn't really exist in most ways. It's spun on right-wing news as this sort of like fear-mongering, sort of like these brown people are coming to take away your white women sort of like thing.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting that they picked that to tack on to Annie. You know what I mean? I thought that was a very smart, and honestly, I could so easily see that being done, because it's so easy to get like white Fox News watchers riled up with the concept. They're taking our women and they're sending them off. I'm gonna go fucking Liam Neeson on their asses. Oh, get so excited
it's a dog
about
whistle that they ignore when we have actual evidence of white people doing the same thing or worse.
Right.
You know, like Jim Jordan is still in office when he like turned a blind eye to his wrestling team being sexually abused by their doctor,
I think.
Allegedly, you know. But
the only thing that would have been worse is if he was a Persian doctor.
Right. If he weren't a white guy, he probably would be out of office. But
he's fine. He's just fine.
And you know, Dan Savage has a refrain that I like, because he says the exact same thing every time you see, every time there's a new news story about a Catholic priest molesting a child, he retweets it and says something along the lines of, if clowns raped people as often as Catholic priests, it would be a crime to take your kid to the circus. Yeah. So
and almost a little less scary.
Yeah.
Like clown rapists.
At least the clown wears makeup that makes it clear you should be terrified of them.
Oh yeah. So yes. So then they go from that to another like brief video of Soulja Boy culturally appropriating another musical genre and killing it,
which we did talk about in a previous recording that is lost to time. But I do want to say what we didn't mention in that previous one that I did want to mention was that Paul Reiser's character did say that Soulja Boy did to singing what Pantyhose did to finger fucking.
So good.
And I just
yeah, another great Paul Reiser scene.
They just gave him nothing but golden nuggets to spill out of his mouth.
And I thought that was a really fucking depressing like thing with Paul Reiser's character, the legend, basically breaking down how all of Huey's dreams and like heroes are bullshit. Soulja Boy never actually fought on D-Day. He was actually one of the ones hosing down civil rights protesters, somehow involved with the Kent State shooting, maybe the JFK
maybe
assassination.
Dealey Plaza. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's what Dealey Plaza was, right? That's JFK.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the point where I say "told you so" and ask you to acknowledge the "told you so." That Soldier Boy was always a bad guy.
Yeah, agreed. They actually really show you in this episode that Soldier Boy is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's still, because maybe Jensen Ackles, whatever, is like so like watchable. He's still like
so likable.
You're still like kind of like, let's see what else he does.
Yeah, let's give him a chance.
But Paul Reiser has this great line where he's like, the thing is, to be American means knowing you're the hero. So what do? We sweep all our filthy shit under the rug and we tell ourselves myths like Soldier Boy, and I get stinking rich selling it. So I can such a great, simple line, and I think it's the basic ethos of the show. You know, and I thought it fucking just nailed like what the show is all about.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect Superman who's going to save you. It's all marketing, really.
All marketing. It's all PR and how it's sold to you. Yeah. So then we follow Huey and Butcher.
Also, briefly, Soldier Boy has been fucking women.
Oh, that was great.
Who are older, and he comes out and is demanding more lube. And his line is, "Women are like fine wine. With age, they get more delicious, but also drier." And again, I'm just like,
Paul Reiser's like, I can never fire those women now.
Right? Yes. I kind of enjoy, because those women also, unlike the prostitutes at Herogasm, those women looked like they were having a good time, and you know, they were ready for more. Pass them the.
God bless them.
Lube.
Listen, I'm all for consensual sex. So okay. So then next comes to the we're introduced to Mindstorm, this guy Mindstorm, who's got like the ability to like go into minds. It's sort of like a Charles Xavier sort of guy, but a little bit less like hinged. And Soldier Boy trips the smoke bomb. Mindstorm comes in and he uses these eyes things on Butcher, and Butcher goes into a deep dark place where it's like all flashbacks, which I will say typically I don't love in shows. Usually they're pretty boring and you don't really. Yeah,
we're filling in some blanks here.
Yeah, it's all exposition type stuff.
Yeah,
this was worth it, I guess, because you are curious to know like a little bit more about Butcher's backstory.
Well,
how did he get to be that
we
way.
Had previously, like, you had spotted Billy's younger brother in a previous episode. Lenny. I had missed it, and you correctly identified him. And so I'm glad that is paying off, where, like, his little brother is important to his, development.
Right.
But also, well, there's one thing about Huey that maybe let's get back to later, but let's talk about Billy. So like, Billy clearly sees Huey in his younger brother, and his younger brother, they had an abusive father. And this is unfortunately like it's not just a trope. I think it's a common real life thing where the abusive parent takes it out on the kids, and the older brother, in this case, Billy, kind of steps forward and protects his younger brother. But then, is left in a lose-lose situation. Like, he has no authority to fix the situation. Mm-hmm. So all he can really do is just stay there and get abused, or leave and then try to come up with a better life. And so he does the latter, and he's a kid. So his thinking is like, well, Dad mostly beats me, so if I'm gone, you'll be fine, which all of us adults know, and like people who have seen any kind of media before know, means the dad is not going to leave the younger kid alone. He's going to make it much worse. So
I got to you, those scenes wreck me more. I mean, they probably always did, but since I became a father, I won't, Siri. I won't.
Fuck you, Siri.
Go to hell, Siri.
God,
I was having a fucking moment, Siri.
You fucking cunt. We're having a moment.
So, anyways, they really get to me now.
Yeah,
man. Like when you think about
because
I got two boys around the same age differential there, and like the concept of like them being so miserable in a place. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I continue to live for one reason, and that is that like I don't. If I were to be gone, who the fuck would take care of these little fuckers? I mean, I want to throttle them sometimes, and I won't because I love them more than anything has ever been loved before.
Because your wife and I would continue to raise them as a family. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not know that? Did you not know that I had? Oh,
you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you.
Such an awkward.
I would rather that. I would rather that. That would be okay. I would love
it. We'd kill it.
You'd be great at it.
Yeah.
You would be fucking amazing at it.
I'd be the man.
Although you were fucking like mortally exhausted after like having friends over with kids for 4 hours. So
I think that's part of the stuff that didn't make it into this episode, actually. But yeah. Guys, listeners, I had 2 children visit me last weekend. And I gave them a Nerf gun and all of my love. And it drained me.
Yeah. No, that's hard.
We had the best time and they were like amazing. And I would die for them now. Yeah. But I'm so exhausted.
Right.
After one weekend, I couldn't do it. Do it.
That is, you get to be a parent and you get to understand fatigue in a deep way. In a spiritual way.
Yeah.
Like I knew fatigue as a doctor and through my training.
Right.
But I didn't know it and learn to love it the way
it's a real gazing into the abyss kind of thing. And you have become fatigue.
I am.
You are the person now, like when I'm like up late at night working, like Kaveh appears to me in a mist and says, Sandman. Fuck you.
I am vengeance. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So okay, where were we? Anyway, so
I don't know.
That's that sad the whole backstory. We get to see that. The father's a real piece of shit. Really fucking bums me out. But I also like when they show that like, you can see why he is the way he is. You can see why Butcher is such a piece of shit because his dad's a piece of shit.
That's and it also it feeds into the things we've talked about, you and I, over the past few episodes about family and family. Like I only saw one Fast and the Furious, so I can't really comment
like on 3 more than you should have.
I know. But yeah, it's like the family that you are born with and the family you choose and how much bullshit you put up with from your family and how you support them. I feel like that is the thrust of this entire season is like who is your family and why and how are you going to support them? And so I think that this flashback is Billy coming to terms with how and it's not fair because he was a little kid too. Yeah. But he failed to support his brother. He thought that, and that's open to debate. How much did he think that this was true? How much was he fooling himself?
And just trying to run away, yeah.
Yeah. So he left telling himself that his dad wouldn't enact violence upon his younger brother, which was incorrect.
Right.
And so it's like interesting that he's looking back on that and then applying it to his current situation. Yeah. In real time, ex-coma, his chosen family is now Frenchie and Huey and MM and to a lesser extent Starlight and others. And it's like, what do they mean to you? What will you be willing to give up to stay and take on pain for them? how much are you willing to go through to protect them?
So let's close up that arc of that story, which is really the main like sort of shock at the end of this.
Yes.
Is he goes through this horrible experience, this nightmare where he's confronted with all his wrongdoings and his relationship to his brother, and then Huey basically goes through another whole series of tribulations to save him, and he comes out, and for a second you think he's going to be like apologetic, human, normal. You're going to see some redemption.
And he just literally wake up saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then he goes on to knowing what he's told by Annie that, using the V24 could kill Huey, decides to give it another roll of the dice anyway.
He says, let's go. Yeah.
Were you, I guess, I don't know. Were you surprised by it?
No, not surprised. Just.
Were you disappointed in the writing for that? Let me ask you that.
No, because I I don't think it's, when that happened, I sort of accepted it because I want Billy to have a redemption arc, but I don't think it's time yet. like if
it can't happen too early.
Yeah, right. If I were the writer for this series and knew I had at least one more season, I wouldn't want him to suddenly be the Boy Scout. Because you don't really want that from Billy regardless. You don't want him to be the
Well, okay, so
what do you think?
This brings me to another topic I want to go over with you, which is, where are we at with anti-heroes these days?
Yeah.
Where are we at as a society with anti-heroes? Let's look back to which was probably the first big mainstream anti-hero was Batman, right? And
which Batman?
I would say probably the Michael Keaton one was the first one. Actually, I take it back. The way original Batman in the comics used to fly around in a helicopter shooting bad guys and being like, oh, I really hate to take a life, but sometimes you gotta do it.
Was that an anti-hero, or was that just writers that didn't understand the character?
I don't know. It was their character. I think it was Bob Kane or whoever came up with him in the beginning. And then the Adam West one was kind of the very campy, fun, schoolboy sort of thing. And then it became darker again. And then there's been so many anti-heroes since then. Have we reached anti-hero fatigue? Have we maxed out on anti-heroes? Do we, at this point in our lives, at this point in our society, all the weird shit that we have in our culture, in our country, do we need something other than an anti-hero? Or is an anti-hero, anything other than an anti-hero, just too unrealistic?
These are all very good questions. So someone on I think it was on our YouTube. By the way, guys, I read all the comments. I don't read all the comments on my regular YouTube videos.
Which are so good, by the way. If you aren't watching them, watch them immediately. Watch the one on scrummeting.
But they're full of... The scrummeting video is pretty good. But those comments are usually full of assholes. But I do read all of the comments on, when I post these videos to my lifestyle YouTube, I read all of those and I really enjoy them because you guys are actually very thoughtful and interesting, and I like it.
I agree.
But yeah, so somebody did say something along the lines of, I forget where I was going with that.
Something anti-hero related?
Yeah, it was definitely anti-hero related.
Can I just tell you, while you're thinking about it, let me just say, I think I personally have some anti-hero fatigue. Remember in the beginning we were talking about the scene where he fucking kills Gunpowder, and how I think in another time, maybe in another less realistic show, I probably would have been yes, fuck that guy. I'm just at this point, I'm man, everything's so jaded. Everything's so full of shit. Everyone's such a letdown. The system seemed to failed us.
I know what it was, and it relates to this.
Yes. So I mean, I feel a little fatigued. So what
the
was the
person
question?
pointed out, like we had talked about what would happen if Captain America came to like 2022 and how like he's probably going to be a racist. And they pointed out that like a lot of these superheroes, I think they were particularly talking about Superman, which is the quintessential example of this, but that they were made by, you know, like Jewish comic book writers and artists who needed a hero to kind of have faith in and to be like, hey, no, there's something better out there that can fight against evil, you know, because there was like a real evil. And I think we do still have that today. Like there is still evil where it would be nice to have a pure person come and fight them. It's just that like after 40 years of having a perfect person fighting evil, you begin to get this it backtracks in a way because you end up in this black and white world where there is good and evil. And I mean, one of my favorite quotes of all time is from a very problematic person named Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who said, and I'm speaking off the cuff here, but like, wouldn't it be nice if we could separate the good from the evil, but the line between good and evil cuts through the heart of every man, and who amongst us can cut out a piece of his own heart? And so, like, I think that, so on the one hand, when you are up against a great evil, as in like Jewish people facing down the Holocaust, trans people right now facing down everything that's currently happening, like, yes, it can be like helpful and inspiring to think of things in this sort of black and white sort of storytelling standpoint. But I think that a better society moves beyond that to the point where we realize all of like the huge percentage of Nazis, for instance, who they're not demons. They're not like these monsters that we can easily see and excise from society. The entire problem is that they are our friends and our neighbors. And so that is why, to me, these stories kind of need to be more complicated, because the benefit of stories is telling us how to deal with the things that we are currently undergoing. So yes, like during the Holocaust, we needed Superman. But today, I mean, maybe we're getting to the point where we need Superman again. I agree. But we are coming out of an era where we need Wolverine.
But I would say, I would posit that Wolverine is a very different character than either Butcher or Superman. Because on one hand, he is nearly indestructible, but he feels pain constantly. He suffers constantly. He gets his ass kicked all the time. He gets murdered and brought back to life in almost almost like, for him, it's torture, being alive for large portions of his life. And he has that sort of like willing to cross a line that most superheroes aren't, sort of thing. But by the late 80s, really, that was sort of written out of his story. And he was
Yeah.
someone who was trying to find his way, a Ronin, a masterless samurai who was trying to find some sort of
Look
redemption.
at you, Wolverine fan like
I'm
me.
I love
He's
Wolverine.
my favorite. That's why I grabbed
him and
his
Spider-Man
thing.
are my two besties, and they're sort of like the dichotomy.
Yeah.
Sort of like
Yeah.
And so that's how they sort of changed his writing, and they went with that. And there was always something really redeeming of seeing Wolverine seeing him take the high road. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you could do with Butcher at this point. I mean, but that is something I would love to see. It would make me just feel better for him to take a high road, at some point. But I think this made it pretty clear that, I mean, he is heading down that path of being irredeemable. At least maybe the next season or something, it'll change. I don't know.
Yeah, and it did stick in my head when you had told me that, like, in the comics, Butcher was kind of more anti than hero, and I'm definitely seeing that here, like his turns. So I 100% agree with you. Like, yeah, I think that, and those two examples I gave, and I maybe should have said, like Rorschach or something as an anti-hero instead of like the more of a society that has kind of moved beyond the need for black and white thinking. Maybe Rorschach is a better like example of the anti-hero that we have interest in. Yeah. But yeah, like I do really enjoy this though, because while I can see that Billy is in the wrong, like he is clearly in the wrong, but he has gathered people to his fringes that where I can identify with them and understand their viewpoint seeming like not the wrong. So you have like, I guess it's coming down to like Billy versus Starlight in terms of like using
the moral grounding of the story. I get that. And I feel like they're using MM as sort of the moral center of the boys.
I was about to say maybe like Billy versus MM, which might be a better.
But part of me is like, I don't want that perspective of MM being short-thrifted. Like, I want to see that dynamic, especially because the actor who does MM is doing such a good job of making him kind of this interesting character and fun, and you kind of root for him. And he's fun, and he's big, and he's tough too, but at the same time, he has a real clear moral, like, directive, at least when it comes to the use of powers that could change your perspective of reality. So I would like to see that.
And also, MM is the only one who has maintained this position of superpowers are bad and we should not even meddle. So you've got like Starlight, I think, agrees with MM, but she has superpowers, so it's kind of easy for her to say.
Exactly. And this all being said, I would love to see what superpowers they would give MM. Like if he were to take it. I would love that
too.
Yeah.
Like I would like to see it happen like against his will. Like if somebody non-consensually jabbed him with superpowers and then he just fucking goes off. So then we don't even have to feel bad about the destruction he brings down upon his enemies. Wrecks, I would love that.
All right. So let's maybe talk about some of the other storylines in this. A big one.
So, go on.
No, go.
One thing I did want to mention was that Huey, so Huey, he keeps, this is something I've actually been meaning to bring up for the last few episodes, but in this one particularly, like every time something needs to get done, like Huey can take the V24 and do fantastic things, but the real benefit that he offers to the group is always with his brain. So he's constantly like
thinking on his feet.
Yeah. So in this case, he's like, hey, so the guy that they're trying to find, what's his name? The Mindstorm. He's like, oh, Mindstorm is either bipolar or schizophrenic. And he says, well, that requires like drugs that need to be tracked. So we can find the closest pharmacy and then, track him to. That is something that like V24 does not give Huey. Like that is his own intelligence, and that's been happening consistently in every episode, and I don't think that it's a coincidence. I think it's the filmmakers trying to tell us like his superpower is his brain and he already has it. He doesn't need the V24.
It's more fun to root for the boys when they're using like these other mortal means of getting to there. We want to root for the guy that's like zapping around and doing interesting flying or whatever. But the guy that actually like gets shit done based on his brain, it's like, and that's toxic masculinity. And if we could take a step back from that, that's one of the reasons why Superman was never interesting to me.
Right.
Like, I never was into it.
He never
was
he's smart about it.
Invulnerable. His like the one thing that could bring him down is a mineral. Like what? It's like Spider-Man, on the other hand, you'd actually, if you were to go back in time and you were to get the pitch about this character who's going to be a lone nerd who has the power of a spider, you'd be like, oh, okay. You would not think it would become the iconic thing that it is. But part of why it's so great is because he's just like a weird little guy with a weird little power.
He's funny.
He's funny, but his power is he jumps around and spins webs. It's not like he flies. He's invulnerable. Like he also got his ass kicked a bunch. And anyways, okay. All right. So let's talk about some of the other points here. So we find out what happens. We find out what happens to Maeve.
So Maeve is still alive. She's in she's below the vault offices, and he's going to impregnate her. Well, he's going to harvest her eggs.
Sure, he's going to harvest her eggs.
He would never force himself upon her, but he would harvest her eggs, which is terrifying because, and which really, and it's amazing that they filmed all this prior to Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
But it really just puts a pin in the idea of like, oh, you're a woman. So like your body and your legacy do not belong to you. They belong to me because I'm in control of your body. It's it's terrifying how they nailed that lack of bodily autonomy that women are facing these days. They haven't since 1973. It's really, I wonder sometimes in the writing room if they sit around and they're just like, nailed it. When the news comes out, they're like, we call that one, right? You owe me a Coke.
Exactly.
Fuck, probably.
Okay, so there's that. Although I will say she gets in a good line. She's like, this is still like a top 3 day of my life because today I saw you scared. Because she recognizes that he's wearing some concealer. She's like, oh shit,
he was he had like a black eye or something. And she also at that point says that ultimately she does not want to be a soup. And we have previously heard this from Kimiko. Yeah. Kimiko thought that she didn't want to be a soup either. Maeve says the same thing now, like the episode after we see Kimiko go back and say, actually, I do want to be a soup. So I think it'll be interesting to see, like, because now with Soldier Boy, it's a real possibility that these soups could not just die, but lose their superpowers and continue on as mortals. Is that really what she wants? Or
that would be great. That would be an awesome way to see Homelander end up.
Yes.
As just like a normal human being. That would
just
be
having
an amazing twist. Like, did you ever watch that one Star Trek The Next Generation where Q like lost his powers and became like a mortal person? Oh, it was fucking.
That does sound fun.
That was a great one. And I didn't watch a lot of.
I love me some John Delancey.
Is that the actor's name? I was not familiar. There's a scene with Whoopi Goldberg and him that was great in that scene. Anyways, so that's that scene. A-Train has received a heart transplant from
Blue Hawk, who he killed, but they're saying they're blaming on Soldier Boy.
Right. I mean, a lot goes into solid organ transplants, We won't go into that here. I won't talk about immunosuppression.
You're calling them on that?
I will call them on one thing. The way they had A-Train's nasal cannula was completely wrong. The thing that feeds oxygen to his nose was completely wrong, and it drove me crazy.
Why? How should it go?
It's supposed to be set up so it's like coming from here under your chin, and it goes behind the ears, under the nose. Here they had it like up his nose and then back over the top of his head into the back of. I mean, it made more sense for the shot for them. It looked better for like the shot, but
there's fucking amateurs,
no self-respecting nurse would allow the oxygen to look like that. Anyways, we're not gonna get into that. And then she's like, "Oh, we're gonna make a new gritty biopic with Tom Hanks as your trainer."
Yes, that is amazing. I love the idea. I would watch that. We have Black Noir experiencing cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
Black Noir is basically Deadpool, in my opinion, where it's like he's got this fantasy life that is fourth wall breaking and is describing his past, where he basically Black Noir is he blames himself for getting Soldier Boy put into the Russian prison.
Yeah.
And I love that his cartoons say to him, "We got you through that erection in 7th grade and the Hard Rock Cafe Massacre in Lagos."
The Hard Rock Cafe Massacre. Do you know what I see him more as? I see him more as Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. And why I think that's kind of fun is because remember Snake Eyes? He looked the exact same. He had the outfit. He never spoke. He was a ninja, had a sword.
Yes.
And he was very mysterious.
Did he have a rich fantasy life, though?
Well, that's the thing. I think now I would like to imagine that this is the kind of shit that was going on in his head the whole time.
Okay.
Like, that's why I think it's kind of funny. Like, because he's such a dark, serious character. He's really mysterious.
That is pretty funny, actually.
Another bullshit character where he's like a white ninja, but whatever.
Right.
I
like it. I like it.
And then, then there's, you get a little more of the backstory again about why Soldier Boy was such a dick and why they ended up selling him out to the Russians because he was a piece of shit. And Black Noir was going to get the role, then Beverly Hills Cop.
Yes.
And then beats the shit out of him for being upset about that. And then Giancarlo Esposito, or the Stan Edgar character, basically he's like, "Hey, we got this other guy in the wings that can fly now, so why don't we get rid of him?" So that was great how they sort of brought that all together. I like that. And then there was also you mentioned already the whole Kimiko and Frenchie subplot where she's like, "Hey, can you go get the V for me so I can be superpowered again?"
Yeah. So she wants to be superpowered again.
I guess I have two questions, though. One, why does she have to do it? Why can't Frenchie do it? If someone has to do it, if someone has to protect them. And two, are they setting this up like they're not going to be a romantic relationship? They're going to be this weird, just like brother and sister relationship? That's kind of the sense I got. They're like, kissing you is weird because, you're more than just a boyfriend or girlfriend. You're also you're my family to me now. Like, Is that where they're going with that? Because I kind of want them to see them have a romantic relationship.
Okay, so I think he has to do it because I think she's still recovering, and he's got like he has to do it. He's got he's more able to go do it. But yeah, it was weird because you're more than that. I actually found that very romantic. So I didn't find it incestuous at all. That did occur to me, like, oh, your family, like we can't be that. I actually found it like more like they were trying to tie in. So I feel like we have this overarching idea of family. And then family.
We need like we need like one of those like sound bites. Just
we do.
Like,
and then I think that I think they wanted to tie that in at the same time as saying that they are like deeply connected. So I actually I liked it in the way that I read it, which is like they're in love, but it's not just a crush. It's like they're connected now.
Yeah,
like they're
on a deeper
almost
level.
like soulmates, but
right.
We don't believe soulmates
but
exist.
We still want to see them fuck, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, soulmates can do that. All right. And then I think the most important thing is the surprise at the end where we get a phone call from Soldier Boy to Homelander revealing that he's Homelander's father, which is, I guess, the secret that he's whispered to by Mindstorm.
Yes. So, so Homelander is Soldier Boy's son, and that's why they decided to, casting back. That's why they were like, you know what, Soldier Boy, we don't need you anymore. Now we have this kid who can fly. And, we can kind of see the parallel with Homelander's son, who might be, we had talked about this on a previous episode, like, oh, maybe he is the thing that's going to bring down Homelander. Maybe he's the guy that's more powerful. But also we had this discussion about how maybe Soldier Boy is more powerful than Homelander, and that's why he's the weapon. And is that a good thing if your weapon then is still like a fully functioning human being that can choose to be a piece of shit?
Right.
So we kind of get back to this idea of we have nature versus nurture, and we also have, okay, so I've been listening to the audiobook for...
I'm really curious to see where this goes.
For East of Eden.
Charlotte's Web.
John Steinbeck's East of Eden. It's really good. It's a little racist, but it's also anti-racist. And it's really good in certain ways in that. I'm not done yet, but the thrust of it does seem to be, what do you choose to do with your power? How do you, you get to decide, what makes you human is being able to decide whether you will do good or evil or otherwise. And I see that. I see everything in terms of what I'm reading at the moment, so don't take this too deeply. But I see that in this show where it is like, Soldier Boy, who knows his backstory? He's fucked up. He gave rise to Homelander, who has told us that he's fucked up, that he had no real upbringing. He had no guidance as a child. And now Homelander has a child who currently, we don't know. We haven't even seen him in several episodes. So what are these? And this is something that I've brought up previously with MM, in terms of is he going to choose to track down and kill Soldier Boy, or is he going to raise his daughter?
Yeah.
And all of these decisions have long-term consequences. I find it really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't get to watch the next episode. I know we talked about being able to watch the next episode, but I never so much wanted to, because there's so many of these questions that I want answered now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we
explored.
Move forward with that in terms of nature versus nurture, because I do feel like that is what a lot of this is building to.
Yeah.
Where it's they talk so much about, and Billy going back to his father, and I feel like that's being really pushed hard here, is how do we raise up the next generation, and can we stop these cycles of violence?
Yeah.
And I think Billy in particular like Billy is somebody who is subject to both nature and nurture violence. So like really when we look at it, like Billy should be the villain of the next episodes, you know, that we see coming up, just based on what we've seen so far. But if he's not, then why not? Like, what changed him?
Yeah, I love redemption. I would love to see it. But it has to be believable at the same time. If any show could do that, I think these guys could make something like that happen, where I could find a believable arc like that occurs.
I hope so. Yeah. I think that'd be nice.
Well, only time will tell, my friend. Let's end it there.
Let's end it there.
Let's do the pluggings of plugs and plugging the things that we plug. Can you please plug your plugs?
I'm at Rebecca Watson on Twitter, skepchick.org, if you'd like to see all of the various things I do. That should cover it.
If you haven't, again, if you are, for some reason, someone who's only listening to this show and has no other knowledge of us, I am telling you to watch her YouTube videos on things. One I just mentioned earlier was about scromiting, which is otherwise known as cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. Now, I'm a gastroenterologist. It's my specialty to know these things. Yet, when I watched Rebecca do this video about this thing that I know that I have expertise in, I was really struck by how good a job she did managing that.
I was literally like writing that episode and thinking, I should run this past Kaveh, but also like I don't want to bother him.
You didn't, and you could, but you did such a good job. Really, I had very little in terms of notes.
Thank you.
And that was like, I mean, that I'm like, if that's something that she's doing on such a high level that I can recognize, I'm like, I have faith that the rest of the stuff is also well researched. So, long story short, watch her videos. Then, if you have time, listen to The House of Pod, my other podcast.
Absolutely.
At The House of Pod.
Absolutely listen to The House of Pod.
Nah, if you're going to pick one thing, do the video. Anyway.
No!
I'm the one who edits these things, so I'm going to cut out all this stuff here.
Fuck you.
It was nice seeing you again.
It was so good seeing you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Wow.
That's
what
how
is this simp shit?
I'm a fucking cuck.
It's
I'm a fucking
cuck shit.
I'm a gamma cuck.